Alright, the Lakers made a new addition, or rather I guess a re-addition to their team, signing center Kylor Kelley to an Exhibit 10 contract. That's simply being a training camp contract and therefore retains his rights throughout training camp and then for their G League team thereafter, which is likely the main point of doing this, but then again they do have a two-way contract open, so he could compete for it, and he is two-way contract eligible. And if you don't remember him, he was part of their training camp team last season, did spend the entirety of it with their team, and that led to him eventually spending time with their G League team, nearly spending the entirety of last season with the South Bay Lakers, though he actually was called up and had two different NBA stints, playing with both the New Orleans Pelicans and the Dallas Mavericks, accounting for 11 total NBA games in which he did get some playing time in. Definitely not very much, only about 11 minutes per game, but was fairly productive in that time frame, averaging roughly 3 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game, about a half a block per game, shooting 63.6% from the field, and then about 60% from the free throw line. Again, not very much, but it was his first official NBA stint, so good on him, and hopefully he can carry that into another NBA stint this season, maybe even with the Lakers. Like I said, he is two-way contract eligible. You know, he's not as young compared to their other two-way contracts, compared to Koloko being 25. I mean, after all, any player that's given an Exhibit 10 contract is guaranteed, I think, at least $75K if they stick around and play with the team's G League team if they are not signed to a two-way contract. So again, definitely a good little present there for Kylor Kelley. And well, talking about him and the time he spent with their G League team last season, he was a productive player for them and did start in a majority of the G League games with them. In the 18 regular season G League games that he did play, which is not including the tip-off tournament games in which there are 14 more of those, Kylor Kelley averaged roughly 11 points per game, playing 24 minutes per game, grabbing about 7 rebounds per game, blocking 2 shots per game, and that's very impressive in 24 minutes per game, that translating to nearly 3 of them per 36 minutes, is a very good rim protector, probably one of the best at the entire G League level, and is a very good athlete to come with it, meaning that he's not only a good rim protector, but also a great lob threat offensively, a good pick and roll partner, is even fairly switchable on defense, so is a pretty good athlete for a center. And yes, he is more of a traditional center rather than a modern center, isn't a floor spacing big option, isn't a guy that will step out to the three-point line and knock down some shots. That's not Kylor Kelley's game. He's more of an inside around the basket kind of big, either a dump off guy or again a lob threat around the rim. Not much of a shooting option. You know, he actually has a decent floater game, so not completely reliant on dump offs and simply dunking it out the rim, but he is definitely more around the rim oriented compared to being a three-point shooting option or simply a floor spacing big. And you know, if I had to guess, that's probably why they brought him back, not only for that skill set, but directly to play with their G League team again. Even with him now being 28, he was a central part of the South Bay Lakers last season, was their starting center for a majority of the time, and they would like to have that back to their team. You know, he had some good chemistry with guys on the Lakers' current team, somebody like Bronny James for example. They had a really good two-man game and a really good pick and roll game that we can directly point to. Here in the highlights in the background you can see it with them, Bronny dishing it out to Kylor Kelley in the post, finding him in the open court for some monstrous dunks they threw down and showing off his athletic ability. That's probably the main point of signing him to this. Yes, definitely more training camp competition, not simply an undrafted rookie that might not know entirely what he's doing and not ready to bring the physicality of the NBA. That's something that Kylor Kelley can do for their team and for their training camp roster. But if I had to guess, it's more so for their G League team and to retain his rights for their G League team thereafter. I mean, we often talk about team continuity with the big league team, that being the Los Angeles Lakers, but it's the real thing for their G League team too. That's why in the past we've seen guys like Shaq Harrison be brought back in multiple years in a row for their G League team, even back in the day why they retained Gary Payton II. If only they would have actually signed him to a real contract, but that's what they like to do and why they have likely done it again here with Kylor Kelley. Retaining him and bringing him back for his second season, even better knowing that he actually had an NBA stint and actually played decently well in it. You know, only talking about 2 different 10-day contracts, both with the Pelicans and the Mavericks, but getting a guy back in your G League team that actually has an NBA background, still remains two-way contract eligible, is definitely a good thing for their team, and all around I think it's a good move to bring Kylor Kelley back, both for the G League team and for their training camp roster. Overall here though, I think that covers it with Kylor Kelley. Yes, they did sign him to a contract. No, it's not to a 15-man roster spot. No, it's not to a two-way contract, but it is an Exhibit 10 contract and therefore he will be with their training camp team, will be with their team throughout preseason, and therefore it's an opportunity to make a good impression on them, potentially getting a two-way contract or simply sticking around longer with their team. And well, with all of that being said, what do you guys think? How do you feel about Kylor Kelley and his potential outlook with the Lakers? Do you think he should or will be an option for a two-way contract, or is this simply to retain him for their G League team? Let me know your thoughts and how you feel about Kylor Kelley in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night,